I don't have no feelings toward this. I don't even know what to think about it. Either way, Makeva's children gonna be out of mom and a dad. I'm just glad justice is coming to an end. That's it.
You feel that he's guilty?
I do.
But this is justice.
Yeah, I believe so. As long as I know something is going to be done. I don't know.
He's not guilty of the charges that they accuse him of. I think they're overreaching. He is a victim in this case. He was a victim the night that his wife was murdered. He continues to be a victim. And I think, unfortunately, the sheriff's department is looking for somebody else to blame in this case besides the individual they already had arrested. He has met with law enforcement a number of times to try to provide answers, and if they're unsatisfied with those answers, that's not his concern, other than it's led to his charges. But he's shocked, quite honestly. I think
a successful businesswoman posts on Facebook about overcoming homelessness to making multi-six figures. Hours later, she's dead in her own bedroom, shot point blank in the head while her children slept nearby. The masked gunman demanded money, yet took nothing from the house. This wasn't a robbery. This was something far more personal, far more calculated. And the person who ordered her execution, someone she trusted with her life. Makeva Jenkins grew up in Belle Glade, Florida, a small town where dreams don't come easy and money comes even harder. Born into modest circumstances, she refused to let her background define her limits. While other kids talked about getting out, Makeva was already planning her escape route through education. By 2005, she had earned her bachelor's degree in criminology from the University of South Florida. 4 years later, she completed her master's in social work from Berry University. But Makeva wasn't built for the corporate ladder. She was built to create her own. The church event in 2009 changed everything. That's where she met Euri Jenkins, a man who shared her faith and her dreams. He sang in the choir, had plans to become a barber, and seemed like the perfect partner for someone ready to build an empire. They married in 2011, combining their lives and their ambitions. Makeva started small, drafting business plans for friends and family, not even charging for her expertise. She was searching for her niche, that sweet spot where passion meets profit. Euri encouraged her to launch a consulting business, but money was tight. She was focused on getting her boutique off the ground while juggling event planning and running a nonprofit. The pressure was intense. Unlike previous generations where men carried the financial load alone, Makeva found herself becoming the primary breadwinner. She didn't complain, she hustled. Partnership meant meeting each other halfway, and she was willing to carry more than her share. 2012 hit like a sledgehammer. Her party-designed business collapsed. Her nonprofit designed to support the local community failed. Most people would have quit. Makeva saw it as a learning experience. In 2013, she launched Prime Enterprise Group, a consulting firm that would become her ticket to financial freedom. She specialized in business planning, coaching, and mentorship. Her online webinars became must-watch events for aspiring entrepreneurs across the country. Today, I want to talk about business planning and the importance of business planning. She would tell her audience, her voice carrying the confidence of someone who had been knocked down and gotten back up stronger. Her message was simple but powerful. Never give up on your dreams. Remember why you became an entrepreneur in the first place. Make it a great day. The success was real and it was substantial. Makeva went from homeless to six figures to multi-six figures in just a few years. She wasn't just talking about success, she was living it, breathing it, posting about it. From the outside, Makeva and Euri looked like the perfect power couple. She had the business empire, he had his barbershop, and together they were raising 3 children. Makeva's oldest daughter, 13, was from a previous relationship, but Euri treated her as his own. They also had 2 younger children together, ages 7 and 1. Makeva was pregnant again. Baby number 4 was on the way. She worked constantly, driven by love for her children and determination to give them everything she never had. The financial pressure didn't break her because the money was flowing. Prime Enterprise Group was thriving. Her social media following was growing, and clients were paying premium rates for her expertise. Euri supported the operation however he could, running his barbershop out of their garage while Makeva ran the business empire from upstairs. To everyone watching, they had achieved the American dream, success, family, financial security. But success can paint a target on your back. And when you're posting about your wealth online, broadcasting your wins to thousands of followers, you never know who's watching, who's calculating, who's planning. On June 29, 2017, Makeva made her final Facebook post about overcoming every obstacle life had thrown at her. She had no idea that her biggest threat wasn't some stranger on the internet jealous of her success. It was sleeping right next to her. The cracks in the marriage weren't visible to the outside world, but they were growing wider by the day. While Makeva was building her empire and posting about their power couple status, Euri was building relationships elsewhere. The discovery came like a punch to the gut. Euri wasn't just cheating, he had gotten another woman pregnant. A woman named Tiffany. While Makeva was carrying his child and supporting his dreams, he was creating a whole other life behind her back. The betrayal cut deep. Here was a woman who had lifted her husband up, encouraged his barbershop business, and carried the financial weight of their household without complaint. And this was how he repaid her loyalty. Divorce papers were threatened. The word hung in the air like a loaded weapon. But Makeva, ever the optimist, ever the believer in second chances, chose forgiveness over freedom. She gave Euri another opportunity to prove he was worthy of their partnership. Big mistake. Because while Makeva thought she was saving her marriage, Euri was already calculating its end. The life insurance policy was worth $500,000. The business was generating serious money. Makeva's death would solve all his problems: the cheating scandal, the financial dependence, the unwanted pregnancy. He just needed to find someone willing to pull the trigger. That someone turned out to be 19-year-old Joevan Joseph. A kid desperate for cash and stupid enough to think murder was easy money. The connection came through Dametri Dale, Euri's friend who hung around the garage barbershop and knew people who knew people. The conversation started casual. Euri would mention how unhappy he was, how he wanted out of the marriage, how much easier life would be if Makeva just disappeared. Dametri listened, thinking it was just talk. Until Euri offered real money, $20,000. That was the price tag Euri put on his wife's life. $10,000 up front, $10,000 after the insurance money came through. For a 19-year-old with no prospects and no conscience, it seemed like a fortune. The planning sessions happened right under Makeva's nose. While she worked upstairs building her business empire, her husband was downstairs plotting her assassination. They discussed different methods: shooting her at work, staging a car accident, making it look like a robbery gone wrong. They settled on the home invasion scenario. It had to look random, like someone heard about her social media posts and decided to rob the successful businesswoman. Euri would make sure to have witnesses present, people who could testify that he was just another victim of the attack. The date was set, June 29, 2017, just hours after Makeva posted about her rise from homelessness to multi-six figures. The trap was ready to spring. The garage barbershop was busy that night. Euri was cutting hair. Makeva's younger brother, Makeva, was hanging out, and Dametri Dale was there providing the perfect alibi for what was about to happen upstairs. At 2 a.m., while Makeva slept peacefully in her bed, pregnant and exhausted from another day of building her business empire, the plan went into motion. Joevan Joseph pulled on his mask, grabbed the gun, and walked into the garage like he owned the place. But there was something wrong with his performance from the very beginning. "Where the money at? Where the money at?" he demanded, waving the weapon around. He threw Makeva to the floor, made the appropriate threatening gestures, but his heart wasn't really in the robbery act. Because this wasn't a robbery, this was an execution. The gunman forced all three men upstairs toward the bedrooms where Makeva and the children were sleeping. This should have been the moment where everything went wrong, where someone fought back, where the plan fell apart. Instead, Euri made a request that should have raised immediate red flags. He asked if Dametri could take the children downstairs away from whatever was about to happen, and the robber, this supposedly random criminal who had broken into their home for money, agreed. What kind of home invader takes requests from his victims? What kind of desperate criminal concerned about witnesses lets someone remove potential hostages from the scene? The kind who's following a script written by the victim's own husband. With the children safely out of harm's way, Joevan forced Euri and Makeva to lie down on the floor. Then he walked into Makeva's bedroom, where she lay sleeping, completely unaware that her life was about to end. One shot, point-blank range, straight to the head. Makeva Jenkins, successful entrepreneur, devoted mother, betrayed wife, was dead before she knew what hit her. The killer ran immediately, not bothering to grab any valuables, not searching for the money he had supposedly come to steal. His job was done, and now it was time for the performance to begin. Markavius and Euri rushed into the bedroom to find Makeva lying in a pool of blood. The scene would haunt Markavius for the rest of his life. His sister, the woman who had overcome every obstacle life threw at her, murdered in her own bed while her children slept nearby. The 911 call came at 2:17 a.m. Emergency responders arrived to find a crime scene that made no sense as a robbery, but perfect sense as something else entirely. Makeva was rushed to the hospital, but there was nothing the doctors could do. She was pronounced dead shortly after arrival, leaving behind 3 children, a grieving family, and a husband who wasn't quite as devastated as he should have been. Detective Sean Oliver caught the case and immediately knew something was off. Home invasions for money don't typically end with execution-style murders. Robbers don't usually leave empty-handed, and grieving husbands don't usually call insurance companies within days of their wives' deaths. The crime scene told a story that didn't match the witness accounts. Nothing was stolen. No drawers were ransacked. No safes were cracked. The killer had come for one thing only: Makeva's life. The social media angle seemed obvious at first. Makeva had been posting about her wealth, her success, her multi-6-figure income. Maybe someone had targeted her based on those posts, thinking she kept large amounts of cash in the house. But the more Detective Oliver dug, the more problems he found with that theory. The first red flag came from Markavius himself. During his initial interview, Makeva's brother mentioned that the gunman's voice sounded familiar. He thought he had heard that same voice earlier that day, somewhere around the house. The second red flag was Euri's behavior. At the funeral, while Makeva's family and friends were devastated, broken, crying for a woman taken too soon, Euri seemed normal, not devastated, not broken, just normal. When Makeva's family held a press conference pleading for information about their daughter's killer, Euri was absent. His own wife had been murdered, and he couldn't be bothered to show up and ask for the public's help. The third red flag was the insurance call. Just days after Makeva's death, Northwestern Mutual received a call from Euri Jenkins attempting to collect on his wife's $500,000 life insurance policy. Hello? Thank you for calling Northwestern Mutual. This is Carrie. How can I help you? I understand you have some questions. The conversation that followed revealed that Euri wasn't even the beneficiary of the policy. When the insurance representative told him he wasn't eligible to collect the money, his response was telling. Oh wow, I guess she didn't change it in time. Changed it in time? Why would he expect Makeva to change her beneficiary? What did he know about her plans that nobody else knew? The investigation shifted focus. This wasn't a random home invasion. This was a targeted hit, and the person who had the most to gain from Makeva's death was her own husband. But Euri maintained his innocence during every interrogation. He denied knowing anything about a familiar voice. He claimed to love his wife. He insisted he would never hurt the mother of his children. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source, Dametri Dale. Dametri had been there that night, witnessed the whole thing, and apparently decided that loyalty to Euri wasn't worth a murder charge. He came in voluntarily and started. The story he told painted a picture of cold-blooded calculation that shocked even experienced detectives. Euri had approached him about killing Makeva, not in a moment of anger, not in a fit of passion, but as a calculated business decision. He wasn't in love with her anymore. He wanted to move on, and her death would solve all his financial problems. Dametri had been recording phone conversations with Euri because he knew he would need evidence to protect himself. On those recordings, Euri could be heard telling Dametri not to mention their names during police interviews and encouraging him not to be scared of the detectives. But the most damaging evidence came from Dametri's phone records. Multiple calls from 19-year-old Joevan Joseph, demanding his $20,000 payment for the murder. Joseph was getting impatient, threatening to body Euri if he didn't get his money. The problem was that Euri couldn't access Makeva's money without being the beneficiary of her life insurance policy. The perfect plan had one fatal flaw. He had counted on inheriting wealth that wasn't legally his to claim. Now he had a dead wife, a demanding hitman, and no way to pay the bill. Joevan Joseph was arrested first, indicted by a grand jury on first-degree murder charges in August 2017. The 19-year-old who had pulled the trigger now faced life in prison for a crime that had netted him exactly nothing.
Makeva Jenkins was an entrepreneur and a mother of three. She was gunned down inside her home in late June by a masked man. In August, on what would have been her 34th birthday, her family pled for clues. Tonight, Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office says this 19-year-old is responsible for her death, but they didn't offer much else. News Channel 5's Amy Lippman in Lake Worth tonight with more on this still developing story.
People I've talked to around this neighborhood where Makeva Jenkins and her family live tell me they are thankful an arrest has been made in the case, and they hope this reveals more answers. This is 19-year-old Joevan Joseph. He's been charged with first-degree murder in Jenkins' death. A grand jury indicted Joseph, leading detectives with the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office Violent Crimes Division to arrest him today. This comes just over 2 months after 33-year-old Jenkins was shot in her house around 2 a.m. on Plumbago Place in suburban Lake Worth. The Sheriff's Office hasn't released anything about a motive or what links Joseph to Jenkins' death, but neighbors tell me they feel more at ease now that an arrest has been made. A neighbor had this to say about the arrest in Makeva's murder.
I think it was something a little bit more in depth to the story, and I think that eventually it's all going to trickle down, and I think there's going to be more arrests made, and we'll just see where that goes.
Joseph will appear in court tomorrow morning. Reporting in Palm Beach County, I'm Amy Lippman, WPTV News Channel 5.
Markevius' instinct had been correct. The voice was familiar because he had seen Joevan at Makeva's house the day before the murder, casing the place, getting familiar with the layout. Euri was arrested in December 2017, also charged with first-degree murder. Even faced with overwhelming evidence, he maintained his innocence. His strongest defense was that he hadn't personally pulled the trigger, as if hiring an assassin was somehow less criminal than committing murder himself.
Euri, did you kill your wife?
No, I didn't.
You said you were innocent.
I am innocent.
Well, then what happened?
God will vindicate me.
What do you have to say about this, Euri?
This is some bull. God will vindicate me.
You say you're innocent?
I'm innocent. Yes, I am.
The case took years to work through the system, but by 2019, both defendants were looking at serious time. That's when Joevan Joseph decided to cut a deal. In exchange for testifying against Euri, Joseph pled guilty to second-degree murder and received a sentence that shocked seasoned attorneys. As little as 5 years, maximum 20 years, for executing a pregnant mother in her own bed. He would serve just 15 years. The testimonies during Euri's trial revealed the true extent of the conspiracy. Joseph testified that Euri had paid him $10,000 up front, contradicting his earlier statement of $1,500. Dametri received cash for his role in the plot, with Euri handing him stacks of money for facilitating the connection. There were inconsistencies in their stories about who provided the weapon, who suggested what methods, who said what when. But the core truth remained unchanged. Euri Jenkins had ordered the death of his pregnant wife and paid people to make it happen. The defense tried to poke holes in the testimonies, pointing out the contradictions between Joseph's and Dametri's accounts, but the evidence was overwhelming. The recorded phone calls, the insurance inquiry, the behavior after the murder, the connections between all the players. In May 2022, after years of legal maneuvering, Euri Jenkins was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The jury's message was clear: hiring someone to kill your spouse is still murder, regardless of who pulls the trigger. Dametri Dale, who had cooperated with prosecutors from the beginning, received 45 days in jail and probation after his charge was reduced to manslaughter with a weapon. His cooperation had saved him from a potential life sentence. Joevan Joseph, the actual triggerman, served 15 years and was credited for the 5 years he had already spent in jail awaiting trial. 3 children lost their mother. A family lost their daughter. A community lost a successful entrepreneur who had inspired others to chase their dreams. All because a man decided his wife was worth more dead than alive. Makeva Jenkins had overcome homelessness, built a business empire, and achieved financial independence that most people only dream about. But success couldn't protect her from the person she trusted most. Her story serves as a reminder that the greatest threats often come from those closest to us, and that financial independence means nothing if you're sharing your life with someone who sees you as an obstacle rather than a partner. The children who survive her will grow up knowing that their father murdered their mother for money he couldn't even legally claim. That's a legacy that will haunt them forever. And somewhere in a Florida prison, Euri Jenkins has the rest of his life to think about whether 30 pieces of silver was worth destroying everything Makeva had built, including the family they had created together. If this story opened your eyes to the warning signs of toxic relationships, or if you want to stay informed about cases like Makeva's, make sure to subscribe to Trending Tragedies. We bring you the real stories behind domestic violence and relationship crimes that too often stay hidden. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss our latest investigations into the tragic betrayals that destroy families and communities. Your subscription helps us continue shining a light on these important stories.